Mike's Unleashed coming at you again. You got your man D Mega and Hawk. Hawk, what's up?
What's happening, man? Good to be back
That's
as
what's up.
always. You know
That's
what it
what's up.
is.
So, Hawk, let's get into it. Because right now, we got a little topic we want to
All right.
discuss. Did you
What's
hear
the
about the
what's the
comments
topic?
going on with Stephen A. Smith and Steve Kerr?
Yeah, I heard it. I heard it where he's comparing leadership between LeBron and
Steph Curry. Yeah,
Curry.
about that.
But honestly, I think Stephen A. Smith, honestly, he'll do whatever it takes to get a headline, right? He'll say whatever the first thing that comes out of his mouth, man. He's diuretic. What I mean, anything comes out the mouth, he just spews it to make a dollar. That's what it is. For me, I don't know how you can compare somebody's leadership based on the actions of Draymond Green, somebody who's erratic, somebody who's his own man, somebody who does his own thing. That has nothing to do with anyone's leadership. He has his own mind. So to compare LeBron and to compare Steph Curry and then get mad at Kerr because Kerr says, yo, you out of pocket, it's just asinine to me.
So
That's
here's
my
the
opinion
thing.
on
I don't think, and as much as I hate to admit this, honestly, because Stephen A. does say some wildest things, I don't think what Stephen A. said was wrong. Now, hear me out on this.
it. Okay.
Now, what Stephen A. Smith was saying about leadership, he was actually saying how the media and how folks on social media and actually, mainstream media, how they would react if this was being done by one of LeBron's teammates versus what is being done versus Steph's teammate, which is Draymond Green. He was talking about how the media
Okay.
would crucify or go after LeBron for saying you need to have your teammates in check and everything like that. However, because it's Golden State and it's Steph Curry's team, we tend to sort of give Steph a little bit more leeway. So therefore, what he was saying,
Okay.
I sort of really have to agree with what Stephen A. said. I have nothing. I don't disagree with it.
Okay.
What I do find just humorous is Steve Kerr trying to go at Stephen A. He's not wrong if Steve Kerr is saying that Steph is your leader of the team, which we all assumed it was Draymond based upon the years and how everything ran through Draymond. But if the coach is saying it's
Okay.
Steph Curry, then shouldn't Steph be held somewhat just not accountable for Draymond's actions, but shouldn't we be hearing from Steph on Draymond's action?
Okay. I say absolutely not. So what Stephen A. Smith did was he was injecting negativity into the atmosphere. Nobody was talking about that. Nobody is gonna. When has anybody ever said Jordan is responsible for the actions of Rodman? Right? Nobody's saying that. Nobody would even say that. And I give those comparisons because they were both erratic players, right? Rodman is his own person. Draymond Green is his own person. So LeBron would not be responsible for Draymond. And then you can't compare LeBron to Steph Curry as far as leadership because LeBron has never been in that incident, in that type of situation. And so the media is never saying it. For Stephen A to interject that, all you've done is put negativity into the atmosphere for it. And if you really want to talk about it, like let's go into
What?
the details of it. Who was Draymond Green's agent?
I think it's Rich Paul. Right.
Rich
Rich Paul.
Paul. Who's what?
LeBron's. Yes.
LeBron.
100%.
So why didn't LeBron say something to Rich Paul and Rich Paul say something to Draymond Green? That ain't good leadership right there. It's pretty much he's the agent of LeBron. Like,
So you
come on,
see,
bro. Like it's such
is it?
hypocritical to throw that
Is
even
it?
out there in the atmosphere.
I don't see the issue with it. I believe what Stephen A was saying was, as the media, we hold LeBron to a different standard than we do Steph Curry. That's what I think. You say he's pointing out negativity, which I don't see it as negativity. I see it as stating the facts because the media, social media, and us as fans, we always find one way to go at LeBron. That whatever he wants to be about the GOAT conversation, but he's talking about the
You know,
leadership
okay.
standpoint, right? He was stating that we would be expecting LeBron to come out and say something if he was on LeBron's team. However, Steph did not say anything regarding this whole situation until the end. So therefore, I don't believe Stephen A was saying anything negative about it. I think he was really pointing out something that we don't really want to address in the media. The fact that we do hold Steph a little bit less, accountable than LeBron. And facts is facts right here. No one's really accountable for nobody but Draymond in the incidents. What you said was a little different though, and I just want to bring that back just 1 second. When you mentioned and said Jordan, no
Uh-huh.
one held Jordan accountable for what Rodman did. Rodman was already a case before he came to Chicago. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? So therefore,
Okay.
they knew what
Okay.
Rodman was when they got Rodman. Draymond himself has always been like this since I would say always been like this, but since he's been at Golden State, which is the only team he's been on, he's been acting out, and it is just it has just increased over the years. So that's why I want to say for the example you gave, I don't think it's apples and apples. I think that's oranges to oranges, oranges to apples per se. So that's why I say about
Okay.
that. That's how
Okay.
I mean. Tell me
All
what you
right.
think.
So with leadership, leadership is leadership, regardless if it's apples or oranges. The leader of a team is leader of a team. How you lead a team, you don't lead everybody the same. When you're a manager, or you're in a person in charge. You can't treat everybody the same. You treat people different, and you manage teams different. Everyone has individuals and separate personalities, so you
No,
can't treat
no
them
doubt.
the same. So for Stephen A to even say, "Hey, they would have done this for LeBron," who's to say that? Nobody's ever been in a Draymond incident where he's doing WWE and UFC moves on people and punching people in the mouth. Nobody has ever been in this incident. So for Stephen A to even interject something that's nobody's ever been in does nothing but create division, right? Puts nothing but negative energy out there, right? Why does Steph have to even be mentioned in an incident where Draymond Green chokes somebody out,
He
backhands him, a spinning backhand? That's
he's
not
the it's not
his
Steph's
problem.
problem, but he's on Steph's team. And if Steph is the leader, then Steph should have come
Okay.
out and said something, just saying, hey, he should have had private conversations. And we're not to say he didn't. And
How
listen,
do we
that's
know
what I
he
was saying.
didn't?
We do not know that he didn't, but clearly the message didn't get through, or Draymond is in his own world thinking whatever he wants to. So Steph could have been. Once again,
Could have been.
I don't feel a certain kind of way that Stephen A shouldn't have said what he said, because for the simple fact, I do believe that if and this we can only talk in hypotheticals, but what Stephen A said, I feel has some validity to it. We would have acted, or we would have treated LeBron a certain kind of way if this was one of LeBron's teammates. I have nothing against what Stephen A said.
I just don't know how to. I just don't know how you can say that. Nobody has ever been in this type of situation. So how can we predict that the media would have said something
Because the
about
media is
LeBron?
always
Right?
saying something about
That is
LeBron.
all.
That's why we would say it. And
But not in this. The media says something about LeBron. The media says something about Steph. They say something about a lot of players, but nobody has ever been in this instance,
no,
right? To bring LeBron up, right? He's bringing LeBron up. He's doing this, not the media. He is the media. He's interjecting it into the media to create the narrative. This is what he's doing. He's not separate from the media. He is the
facts.
media. For him to say what the media does, he
Right.
just did it himself. He's the media. So it is so hypocritical for him to even say that. How about let that man get whatever help he needs? Don't bring Steph and put Steph in the media limelight or LeBron in the media limelight. Because realistically, it ain't their problem. This dude is his own
Facts.
man at
Draymond
the
is
end
his
of the
own
day.
man, and nothing
You
can be
know,
said for what Draymond did. He has to serve his indefinite suspension, however many games it's going to be, because, like I said, we know it's going to come back. But I just don't. I feel what Stephen A. says. I mean, and like I said, once again, it hurts me to agree with Stephen A. at times, and this is one of the times I don't see. I see the point that he was trying to make. He is right. And I just don't say, yes, he's the media, but social media would do the exact same thing. And I'm telling you right now, even before Stephen A said it, I bet you there were some trolls out there saying, what is and what is stuff like this.
I
I,
never saw
I'm just going
anybody.
to say and I think that it was out there. But I'm not wrong.
I
I'm
never
not
heard it, but
mad at Stephen A for saying it. But I mean, what Kerr said, he wants to go at Stephen A and say what he has to say. Kerr, you're the one that should be held more accountable than Steph, right?
okay, so go
Okay.
after
I
the
mean,
management,
yes.
right? Go after the management, go after the
Go
GM,
after
go after
the
them. But
entire
to
team.
interject
Steph is
Steph
part
in
of the
there,
team. So you have to address
Exactly.
the team as a whole, right?
Well, Steph is
He's not
not
the
the
manager,
manager.
but he's
Right.
part of the
Steph is
team.
not the manager. Steph is not the GM. Steph is not the owner. Steph does not sign
No, never
Draymond's
said he did.
contracts.
But you're telling me
This Steph
no,
all
I said, but you're
go
telling
ahead.
me Steph, with everything that he's accomplished through his career, he doesn't have any say so in what goes on in the Golden State organization. He does not say, "Hey, you know what? We should talk about this. We should." So you don't think Steph has any like weight or anything to say? You know what? Maybe I should talk to Draymond, or maybe we should have a conversation.
Okay.
This is us. You don't think
Uh,
Steph has anything to do with that organization?
Obviously Steph
So then
has some
he's
pull,
accounted for.
right? But obviously, okay, so the whole
Exact. The
team's
whole team.
accountable,
It
right?
starts. The
So the
whole
whole
team's
team's
accountable
accountable.
for
Okay,
allowing
so
his
why is
actions.
he calling out Steph?
Because Steph is the leader.
But
He's
I
the
don't even
leader.
agree with that.
Regardless of how you think, he's the leader. He's the leader.
Draymond
He got called out for a reason. I don't think there was nothing wrong with it.
Draymond is accountable for himself. So again, for Steve, to me, for Stephen A. to even say the media as if he's not the media, it's hypocritical as hell to me. That makes
I
no
will not
sense.
disagree.
Like you can't separate yourself. You are the media. You're creating the narrative. You're part of the problem. You're no different than the
I won't
problem,
disagree with you.
right? He
He
does this
does it,
all the time,
but I can't
right?
disagree.
So if he has a problem with the way Draymond was
Mhm.
handled, right? Then address that. Just say something about the management, right? Say something about that. We don't know what locker room they're talking. Stephen A. ain't in
But
the
hey,
locker
hear
room.
from Stephen A. He
You know,
gets
as
all that
much he wants to
information.
say he's
Like you
always
said,
part of.
hear from Stephen A. He
Yeah,
said from
okay.
his sources. He's always saying from his sources. Hey, what are we
Oh,
to
it's
say
his
that
sources,
Stephen A.
right?
doesn't have legitimate sources? I mean, he talks a lot. He
How
talks a
many
lot.
times he talks a lot? How many times have you heard Kevin Durant say he's full of shit?
I mean,
And I ain't
yes,
telling you.
Kevin Durant, he's not going to sit up here
Plenty of
and
times.
agree with everyone. Everyone's not going to like him. Like I said, it happens. Now,
No, no, I'm saying his sources, where he said, I have a source, and right from the horse's mouth. And Kevin Durant's like, I ain't never talked to Stephen A. I ain't never called Stephen A. So when people say they got sources, 95% of
But
the
the
time they
5%,
lying.
they
It's
the
all
5%,
hype.
they could have an inside. Stephen A has a name that would actually say that people will talk to him. What they wanted, will they talk to him? Yes. And would they keep their name anonymous? They'll probably do that. Hey, if you want to report, don't say you heard it from me. So that could have been what happened. And I don't believe a lot of things.
Maybe,
And don't
maybe.
take this as me. I'm pro Stephen A. Because I'm most of the time I'm not. But I did not have a problem with what
Hmm.
Stephen A said because I felt like what he's saying is accurate because I just stepped back and looked at it and just say, hey, only one man's really accountable for his actions, which is Draymond, 100%. But you
Okay.
would be looking at the team
So
differently.
then they should leave it
It,
at that,
but
right? They should leave it at that. Say Draymond's accountable for himself. You can't disparage or say Steph has lack of leadership or anything like that or even insinuate, right? And that Steph's leadership lacks because of what Draymond did. And that he subtly said it. Like the leadership or what's it called? If this was LeBron, so what are you
he
saying?
said it. He
Right. And
was
that's my
saying
point. Like,
that
what are you saying?
not.
Why
It
even
was saying
interject
that
it?
if this was LeBron, we would be going after LeBron and saying, "Hey, you don't have your team in check." But we don't go after Steph the same way that we go after LeBron. That's what he was trying to say. He said, what we're saying, there's different levels to it. Everyone's so quick to criticize LeBron, but they don't criticize Steph. He's in this situation in Golden State is not Steph's doing. But you are the leader. You're the one that everyone on that team looks up to. He was expecting Steph to maybe come out. I'm saying, what Stephen A? I'm assuming. I wish they were saying assume all I want. But this is what Stephen A is trying to say that if it was a teammate of LeBron's, we expect LeBron to come out and say something. However, we give leeway to Steph and we're just like, oh, he'll talk to us when he's ready. But if Steph had maybe better leadership, it would be, maybe it wouldn't happen. I'm not saying
Okay.
Steph would have done, should have done, could have done anything to stop Draymond. Honestly, I don't think he could have. But I do believe the media and everyone, social media, fans, and everyone does look at the two players in different lights. I that's how I feel. 100%. They look at both players in
Okay,
different
that
lights.
makes sense. They may look at
May
them in different lights, But why is this brought up for a
This
negative
because
situation? Why is this
everything is
brought up?
negative.
Because to correct and create negativity, right? To create a narrative, right? To continue a narrative, to push negative energy. It didn't need to be brought up. For what? No,
How,
I haven't heard any media outlet talk about, well, if this was LeBron, what would LeBron have done?
nobody. But here's the thing:
Nobody.
if it wasn't something that you didn't, how about this? How about this? And this is the thing: how about if there wasn't some truth to it? Why respond? Right? Stephen A. says a lot of stuff. Media says a lot of stuff all the time.
Dude.
But why respond to something like this? Steve Kerr didn't have to respond.
Why who
Why did
respond?
Steve Kerr have
Well,
to
Steve Kerr
respond?
did have to
Why?
respond
Because he says
because if
everything.
he's
But like I
talking
said,
about
Stephen A. talks about everybody, and a lot of these folks don't respond. Like I said, give Stephen A. the time of day because they know what he does. But why did Steve Kerr feel the need to address this? Answer that.
Steve Kerr job as the what?
Head
As
coach.
the coach is to protect his players. That's Steve's job. So if you're pushing negative shit about his players, I expect him to say something about his players. Stephen A says stuff because he has the loudest microphone. Everything he says is a click for $1. That's why he says what he says. Right? He sits up there on the podium, wants to get interviews with people, wants to play, hey, I'm on your side. And then he'll go right behind your back and talk crazy and wild
Facts.
about you, right? He is pretty much the worst person when it comes to that right there. Players say it all the time. They don't ride with Stephen A, right? They don't ride with him because he says a bunch of wild stuff. So I would expect Kerr to protect his star and be like, yo, don't disparage my star's leadership, right? Because you want to create a narrative. That's what he did, and that's what he should have done as the manager. And now, as far as Steph having to say something, we don't know what Steph said. Steph ain't got to say nothing about him. Maybe Draymond said, "Yo, let's just keep this in house." Maybe that's the agreement they have, their communication. Whatever it is,
he's not going
he
to be
doesn't have
able
to
to.
say
He's
nothing.
not
He
going to be
doesn't
able to
owe
get
nothing
out
to
of
the
the
media.
situation without addressing it. Yeah, Steph knows he was going to have to address this at some point in time. He knows that because Steph is going to continue playing ball. Steve Kerr is going to continue to coach while Draymond's suspended. So you know the reporters that are in the room after each and every game, they're going to ask you questions about Draymond. What do you think? How did this, him not being here impact the team? He knows this by being, a professional athlete. You're going to have to answer questions that lead to this, that are about the story. And that is the biggest story, is Draymond. So therefore, Steph has to address it. He has to address Draymond. But once again, I don't feel as if Stephen A was wrong about what he said. Steph has and should have said something. We don't know if he did or if he didn't to Draymond. And like I said, maybe we'll never know, but he needs to say something. I feel as if by
We may never know.
by Steve Kerr going back at Stephen A, then there's some truth to it. Or there's something in there that rubbed Steve Kerr the wrong way. But I mean, when there's truth, you feel like, hey, I need to go out and change the narrative. If it wasn't the truth or you didn't think about it, you didn't have to say a word, Kerr. You could have just left it alone. But you felt like you needed to come back and defend your player. You know what? You have the right to.
But
You have the
how
right
real
to.
is that?
But maybe some things.
How real
How
is
real?
that? Let's put that in perspective. How real is that when there's no truth, you don't have to say a word, right?
Think about
Let's think
everything
about
that
it.
they
We can
say.
even in so many scenarios, that's not even
It's not.
realistic. Like if there's no truth, you just sit back and say, "Hey, I'm not gonna say nothing." It's not true. In their positions, they have to say something. They have to address every issue. It's almost like we give the scenario. We had the videos about Puffy. When Puffy didn't say nothing, he looks
Guilty.
what? Guilty.
Right.
Right? So, if regardless if it's truth or not, you have to say something because of the positions they're in. Steve Kerr had to say something about it and address the issue because Steve Kerr has a huge microphone, and you have really Stephen A, who's a bully on a microphone. He's a bully on
I
the
don't disagree
pulpit
with
because
you
he
on
has the
most cases.
loudest mouth,
I don't
and
disagree
he
with you.
says
I
wild
do not
shit,
disagree with you about that on most times.
and he does
He
it for
does
a
that.
dollar.
Yes, he has the biggest mouth. He is going to say what he wants to say, and he wants to be heard, so he's going to overtalk you. Don't disagree. But not everything that he's saying is wrong. That's a fact.
I didn't say
And
everything
I
he
don't
said was
disagree with
wrong.
this.
I said just creating a negative narrative out there, right?
That's the media.
You don't always
That's
need to
the
do
media.
that. What was
That's
said
the
was
media.
already done. That's right. And he is
The
part of
media.
the what?
Yep.
The media. right? So the same way I hold Draymond accountable, I hold him accountable, right? He has to be accountable for his words. He just anything for a dollar with this dude.
Listen,
Anything for a dollar.
I will agree with you on almost 99% of the things that Stephen A. Like, I do not want to sit up here and go, and I don't like listening to his voice. I really can tell you that when I hear his voice is because I know he's going to yell, he's just going to try and overtalk and scream to get a point across, which most of the time, you don't need to do that. But that's his thing. That's his gimmick. That's what he has to do. I don't believe that he was wrong in what
That's
he
his
said
gimmick.
about challenging Steph and
All
LeBron.
right.
That's how I feel about it. I don't think he's wrong. We can agree to disagree, but I
Okay.
definitely for this one, I say Stephen A.
We're gonna agree to disagree. I think the dude is a clown. I think that he just creates a negative narrative, always just to sell, just to get ratings. He says, "I want to be the best. I want to have the highest ratings." That's all he cares about, bro. Whether it's true or not, he don't care. He's half time to me. I look at him. He says some good stuff, but other times he's
Bullshit.
just full
All
of
right,
shit.
I give you to you on that one.
Yeah. Now on to another topic. Since we're talking about
Go
sports,
ahead.
right? Since we're talking about these stars and all that type of stuff. What's interesting to me is exactly what we're talking about. We hold these people, these stars to like
Uh-huh.
unrealistic standards, right? And we put them on
Yes. Yep.
pedestals. Why do we put these stars on so many pedestals and make them into pretty much godlike figures, right? But then people who are really doing godlike work, they're not on these pedestals. Why do we worship athletes, stars, and everything, but we don't give teachers,
Ooh.
doctors, firefighters, and police officers the
Yo,
same love? All we ever talk about in the media is what?
stars, social media,
Stars,
like actors,
actors.
rappers, musicians, and stuff like that. Listen, I hate to sit up here and tell you, something that's not happening, but that's what sells, right? People want to look at other people want to live in other
Mm-hmm.
people's lives. That's what it's all about. Social media is about, let's
Mm-hmm.
see how other people are living. Why? Because I don't like my life. I'm not happy
Okay.
with who I am. So let's go ahead and let's the media, social media, and the networks, all they want to do is push, push, push the millionaires, the billionaires, all the money they make, and they're going to tell you the ones that, hey, we
Mm-hmm.
need you, we need your support. They have the money, but they're asking you to give
They
you
have.
their dollar.
Mm-hmm.
It is what America's been built on.
Yep.
Like I said, no, we don't do in America what we're supposed to do. Like, our teachers should definitely be paid more than what they are. And honestly, police
Mm-hmm.
officers, I respect them, the good ones out there for what they do. There's a lot of bad ones out there, and I'm not going to bash them. But police officers, you put your life on the risk. Listen, you should be paid as well. But teachers and those right there,
Correct.
they should be praised. Like I said, they should definitely be praised. But no one's
They
going
should
to
be
no one's
praised.
going to sit there and look at a teacher's life or look at a teacher's career and say, well, that's a life I want to do. That's a life I want to live. Hey, I want to go to school for 6 years or whatever, get a degree and then go teach some kids, some badass kids that are not going to listen. But
Mm-hmm.
the teacher's perspective is they want to look and they want to teach the youth. They want to bring up education. There's no flash in that, right? There's no flash in that. There's no flash.
There's no
We,
flash.
as America, we've done this. We've idolized the superstars. We've
Yep.
idolized the musicians, the actors. We give them all that power by continuously to go promote them, watch their movies, listen to their terrible music while they're talking about killing each other and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But hey, we'll keep go buying it. And what does the media do? And what does the music industry do? They just keep they celebrate and
It's
they keep just
celebrated.
filling up our music. They keep filling up the industry because hey, that's what sells. No one else is
Yep.
going to. They don't want to hear.
That's what sells.
I,
And we've created this negative. It's just a negative image of what things should be, right? Because right now you look at it, all the people who are celebrated, they give Oscar awards for people who play doctors instead of giving the doctors the award. They give the actors award, somebody who's playing a doctor. The person who plays a doctor and doesn't really do it is the one that's celebrated. The person who plays the teacher, for instance, in Lean on Me, is celebrated, right? But not all the teachers who actually do the work. It's ridiculous. How many shows do you see on television where there's CSI, FBI or LAPD TV shows, right? With actors playing, right, police officers, but guess what? Making 10 times as much as police officers, and they're celebrated. But the police officers who really do the work, the doctors who do the work, the teachers who do the work, they're not celebrated. You look at teachers. Teachers in certain counties right now in Vegas are fighting to even get their contracts renewed, right? And this is craziness. How do teachers who actually do the work and educate this next generation of leaders have to fight to get paid while stars are
Yep.
celebrated, right? While baseball players who do nothing, meaning
Nothing.
nothing in the educational system, meaning what? They're athletes playing a kid's game, get paid $700 million when teachers can't even make 40,000, right? One baseball player just signed a 10-year, $700 million
$700 million.
contract. Like, come on, man. Let's talk about the basketball players. Same thing. As much as I love Jordan, that some bitch won't even doggone sign a doggone what is it called, an autograph half the time because he's worried about somebody's going to profit off of his name. Who cares if somebody profits off your name? You made
Billions.
millions. If you sign a basketball for some, yeah. If you sign a basketball for somebody and they make $100,000, why do you feel you need to get a cut? Because you're a greedy son bitch. Let's really
Selfish.
talk about it. It is what it is. And this is the world that we live in. Like, we don't celebrate the people who need to be celebrated. We don't support the teachers. We don't support any of them. When it comes to the people who make the changes, we're worried about the stars that just entertain us.
All the
They get
money.
all the
It
money.
is crazy.
It's craziness.
That's how America is just set up. America is set up for the rich to get richer and the poor to get poor. That's just the bottom line. It is wrong. It is wrong. Teachers, I have nothing but utmost respect for them. They deserve increases. They deserve to get paid for what they're doing and what they're the education and the time that they're spending with our children and trying to make a better future. But we don't see that. We'll give them more hell than we give.
We
We'll
don't
hold them
see
more
it.
accountable than we are. Once again, these stars, actors, and everything like that. We'll say, hey, a teacher has a bad day and flips out on a kid that has just been antagonizing them all day, and the teacher just had enough, and we're ready to march up there and get this teacher fired. Let's take a step. Let's take a step back and say,
Fired.
what is going on? We are so screwed. I mean, our priorities are just all
We're
jacked up.
screwed.
100%.
It's the reality. It's the reality. Exactly what you said. The music that's perpetuated is negative energy, right? And we sell it. We make athletes are gods. We put athletes on podiums higher than teachers. Athletes on podiums higher than preachers. Athletes on podium higher than firefighters who run in buildings and die every day, right? We worship them and we celebrate all these athletes, all these actors. We put them on godlike status, right? We sit outside wanting to wait for them to autographs and pictures as soon as they get out their
Yep.
cars. Like, what is this? What is this? Like, we are pretty much worshiping idol gods. That's what we're doing. These people mean they're people just like us. We need to put our priorities in place, take care of the people who are educating the system, who are educating our kids, raising our kids while we're at work, which are the teachers, and appreciate all these other individuals that are actually in public service, not just athletes and basketball players. And these politicians
Oh
are
man.
bad as hell too. Let's talk about them. They make millions of dollars, and half the time they won't even vote. But that's a
That's a
different topic for a
totally
different
different
day,
day. Don't even
right?
want to talk about
But
them. Yeah,
it's just
it's
crazy.
crazy. It is wrong.
It's just,
And like I said, there needs to be a reset. Like we need to reset. We need to stop paying these athletes these ridiculous contracts. We need to stop paying these artists these
mm-hmm.
ridiculous amounts of money for the music. Hey, understand that hey, it is a skill. Great, I understand that you put time into that, but it's not the time and effort that we need to put into these other areas that's going to actually help us grow as a not just an economy but as a world, like just overall.
As a world,
It's screwed up.
as a world,
Straight up, it's screwed.
it is screwed. I mean, and you said it's unacceptable. It's screwed. Like, in my belief, these people who are in these public services who are doing these things, who are teachers and everybody else, like who do these things and
Yeah.
are underpaid, right? Who are putting these hours in and creating the next generation of leaders should be
Yeah.
appreciated. Right now, I don't feel like they're appreciated. And when I see athletes making $700 million, $800 million, and I see teachers who can barely live
Barely.
day to day because they living from check to check, it's insulting. It is absolutely insulting, and it speaks loudly, like on a megaphone, to the disparity of how people are treated and the important who we view as
Absolutely.
important. Right? It's
It
actually
is. It
kind of
is
disgusting.
disgusting. It is disgusting.
It's
And
sad.
like I said, for any of those teachers or anyone out there who's in that field and everything like that, We at Max Unleashed, we understand. We get it. Like once again, we get it.
We
We
get it.
understand the
We
struggle
get
that
it.
you're going through. It is not fair. It is not fair across the board. We respect what you do. Everyone else, I mean, y'all can
Yeah.
keep.
We
Yeah,
respect and
yeah.
appreciate you,
That's
man.
what's up.
Right. Everyone else, like all these $700 million guys, think about that. Y'all are making more than these teachers and stuff, wherever
Think
making
about the
their
money that they
lives.
could be.
Right. So next time y'all walk by
Yeah, think
this,
about the money
right?
that they could be saving.
Next time y'all walk by a kid, right? Next time y'all walk by a kid and don't want to sign an autograph for him, think about that. You're making more money than their entire generation, like several generations of people will make. Take the time. That's all I got, man. I just felt like getting that out. Let's have that real conversation. People may not like it. They may like it. If they don't, you know us, bro. We don't really care. We're going to speak
Facts.
it
We say
anyway.
what we got to say. Listen, once again, this is Hawk and D Mega coming at you one more time. We appreciate you coming through. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow. Mike's
Facts.
Unleashed, we coming out. Turn our mics up. Yo, we out.